Welcome back, everybody, or if you're a first-time visitor, welcome to my channel. This is the special playlist on the channel, Gen X Transplant Brothers. I am Steve. This is my brother, Troy, over on that side.
Hello.
And we are the Gen X Transplant Brothers. Both of us born in 1966. Our parents got married. We were both steps and all this stuff about around 70, 69, somewhere in there. We lived with each other through the 70s mostly, and then I moved away. Then we moved together, parents, all this stuff in the 80s. We have phases of our life that we live together, but we oddly haven't even seen each other in person for over 20 years, as we recently found out. So today we want to talk about, we have a plan for sort of a generational arc about what got Gen X here. You know, we've told our stories about where we've been and what we did. We'll talk a little bit about that maybe along the way to illustrate it from our point of view. But really, you know, what was it? What is Gen X, first off, and where do we go from here type of thing we're going to build to? So, Troy, when you hear Gen X, I don't, maybe you don't even think about this, or maybe you don't, but I'm sort of keyed into it, so I hear all kinds of comments on it and whatever. When you hear Gen X, what do you think?
I think about my youth between, say, 77 and 85. So anybody who went through my age in that era is who I believe Gen X is. And
Yeah,
so, like, when I meet people and they talk about, you can tell when somebody's talking about either music or their high school graduate or what they wore, the cars they liked. You sense they're Gen X just from listening into them. Just sometimes you can't tell. Some of us look a lot older and some of us look a lot younger than what I would think are Gen X people.
yeah. And, you know, that's a side topic for another day, how people used to look older in general. But we'll get back to that maybe later on. But that's an interesting topic. There's a lot on that. But yeah, I mean, first off, for everybody that didn't grow up in that time, Gen X technically is 1965 to 1980. Though it is kind of hard to imagine 1980 being similar to being born in, say, 1967, just because of what Troy said. That's a very distinct era, that late 70s up till the mid 80s, as opposed to starting out in, say, 93, or maybe that would be like 90s, and still. So basically just think Nirvana versus, Kiss / Aerosmith into heavy metal. And so, the good news is Gen X all the way along had the arena rock thing. So that we all have in common. And Troy and I love arena rock. We love live stuff. And so we all have that. But I get where you drift there. I mean, there is a certain ruggedness, I think, that's not all, but that shines through in a lot of men and women, I guess. But I don't know how it be the same. But they have this sort of, it comes from that latchkey kid generation thing. That's the term that means that there was nobody home when we came home from school. We had a key, we let ourselves in. In my case, I remember some days, I'd leave before the family was awake, a lot of times football practice, but then other times they'd be gone. I'd leave. I'd make a hamburger for breakfast because it was easy in the freezer, and they'd get home, not see anybody, and then around 5, they'd get home. I might be home and dinner would happen and I'd go out. So, I mean, and I think there's lots of you listening or watching this Gen Xers out there, or people in general that, again, as you get older, the safety culture took over and everything changed, crime changed, a lot of things changed, blah, blah, blah. But it was a fun time. It was a free time,
Yeah, free.
Yeah. I mean,
that was a lot.
I mean, just picture it, it's the whole idea of the small town with the grass and all the yards and all the houses, some of them made out of brick. And there's this, the asphalt street, and it's getting dark out, and there's kids getting on their bikes, and nobody has a light or a helmet, and they're sort of just taking off, and they're leaving as it gets dark on their bikes. That whole scene of it wasn't just drinking out of garden hoses. It was just the ability that you had to be able to do that, whatever you wanted.
Yeah, and you did what you wanted to do whenever you wanted to do it. And
right.
You really didn't need to be told what's wrong and right. You knew.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it was fairly obvious, but sometimes
like now you drink like the faucet drinking out of a garden hose.
I don't know if it
that's
now.
That's so wrong. Now your parents would probably go to jail for allowing it to happen.
Yeah, but you'd probably also, who knows what's in the water.
Get a spider in your throat.
Right. But here's the flip side of all that. One thing that also took place a lot for a lot of people. I'm definitely sure it happened with myself, perhaps you, Troy. But when we had we lost a member of the family, self-induced, I guess would be the way to say self on YouTube. But I was, let's see, she was 14, I was in 5th grade. And so that rocked the family big time. And that was something that we never talked about, that was not supposed to be talked about. And it split the family in a weird way. And I don't want to get into too much family dynamics here, but it was never the same. And I think it's other things, divorces, moving from house to house, having step parents, or just rough coaches at school. I mean, there was a lot of kids during that time that were actually getting kind of mentally beat up and nobody realized it.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
do you remember any kids going to counseling or anything?
No, never.
Ever? I
Ever.
never,
Well, it wasn't a thing.
right. There wasn't even a was there, well, there's a nurse and she had Band-Aids.
Yeah, she had Band-Aids. And you didn't, I mean, you just dealt with it. Well, like we were talking about my friend John King, who died when he fell through the ice the day before Christmas, 1975. I found that out because of me and my brother were out on the ice playing hockey. And my mom came out to tell us, hey, Troy, your best friend, John King, died. I said, how? And she said that he fell in the ice. It wasn't the lake we were playing on, but she said, get off the ice. Don't go back out there. And right before she had told me that, the hockey puck had went out further enough in the deeper part of the lake where the ice wasn't as thick, and I could feel the ice cracking, but I got the puck, shot it back towards the shore, and came back in. Then we got off the ice, and we never talked about it. That was it. Your friend's
No.
dead. Don't go on the ice. Okay.
Lesson learned. I don't know why I remember being in Neoga. It wasn't like I was at my mom's house in Chicago or something. I remember finding out, I mean, when it happened, and I was not I remember being in somewhere in Neoga. Who knows? Maybe I was with Dad or something. But
Maybe we were living on the lake in Lake Sarah, 1975. Now, you might have been with Dad because you were probably there for Christmas.
that might have been it. And you know what, Troy? I want to tell you something. There's a chance we might actually be live right now.
Mine's recording live.
Yeah, I think we are. Sorry, we thought we were just recording this. I'm glad we hit it and started on
Well,
time.
mine says been recording for 37 seconds, so we didn't start live, I don't think.
Who knows? I just see it says live. I was trying just to do.
That's okay.
All right,
Hello,
so there
everybody.
we go. Last trimming of the raw and unedited. Like we said, we like Arena Rock. There you go, live on stage. Yeah, I mean, that whole psychotherapy was younger then, and I mean everything was, and plus generations before it was not a thing. You know, you had a priest maybe, or there was some person in town. I don't know, but I can't even picture that. Like, who would that have even been? You know, say 50 years before we were born in Cumberland County, Illinois area. You know, there was no. I mean, I can't imagine there was even a counselor.
Well, I remember
State,
when,
practically.
not to bring like
So
death into the picture, but our baseball team, two guys on our little league baseball team got run over by a boat, and one of them ended up getting killed. And as a baseball team, we went to the hospital to visit the guy who survived. And I remember being in the hospital, going up the elevator, and the doctor was smoking, and he had a a pad in one hand. He was smoking in the elevator of the hospital. And as a kid, I thought, that seems weird. A doctor's smoking, but it was normal back then.
absolutely, yeah. There's commercials. I don't
Yeah,
know.
he did.
I've
Yeah,
never seen
cigarette
old
commercials on TV during the Super Bowl. Smoking wasn't bad for you. It was
the
as
Marlboro
a
Man.
relaxing thing.
Absolutely. Remember the Marlboro Man? I
Mhm.
remember in Chicago when you used to come up, whatever it is, I forget my highways now. 57, 55,
Yep,
57.
57.
Right before you hit the loop, there used to be this huge Marlboro sign, and it had the guy on the horse with the hat and, you know, the
Yep, with the
cowboy.
cowboy.
And out of his mouth, it was actually a smokestack from the factory. So it was, or I have to sit somewhere on there. I think it was his mouth, but it might have been a cigarette. But it was always smoking, with real smoke.
Oh, I
That
wish I'd
thing
have
was there.
seen that.
Anybody from Chicago? Well, I mean, you don't have to be from Chicago, but if you lived in the city, you probably would have passed that rather often throughout your years. I know we did, coming and going from Southern Illinois back, or Chicago. So yeah, no language and mental health at all with us in those days. With
No, he
no, how do you
just
feel?
this is what happened, deal with it. Well,
Right.
they didn't even say deal with it, they just told you this is what happened. Sorry, move
And
on.
one other thing I want to point out, though, Troy, we're also sort of indicting our parents here because for all we know, there's people out there, maybe you watching right now, Gen Xer or otherwise, who had parents that did do that, that sort of acted as quasi counselors and had like family meetings where they say, share your feelings on this and they have an open and honest space. I don't know how much of that went on. I'm sure it did. But I mean, if you're one of those people, then that's great. You're probably a CEO right now of some major company or something,
Or the kid being in an insane asylum.
or that. Yeah, exactly. But you never know. Somewhere in between, where the rest of us are. So anyway, so then not only are we not supposed to talk about it, I don't. Quick note as we segue into war. Do you remember? I mentioned this to my mother a year ago or so, and she said no memory of it whatsoever. But I said, Mom, do you remember we were kids? We were not allowed to say the word Vietnam, let alone Vietnam. Okay, and so we were not allowed to say it. One of them's counter. I forget. The left called it one, the right called it the other. Typical thing. And so it was because of the way the war was and the reception when the soldiers got back and the anger that was behind the people that were doing that. I mean, everybody's now pissed off. The country was a circus for years and years and years. And so after that, we're not, do you remember not being able to talk or speak or say the word Vietnam or talk about it at all?
I don't remember you told to, but we didn't because we had, uncles over there that were in Vietnam, just like we talked about before, just watching Walter Cronkite do the nightly
Mhm.
statistics or fatalities of Vietnam. So people just, like, sad, didn't talk like you said, that we didn't talk about Vietnam much
Yeah.
because it was not a good thing to talk about.
No, and yeah, I guess I can toss this out there. My uncle Robin, my mom's brother, he went to Vietnam and was like a sergeant or something. I don't even know exactly what he did. There was some rumors that it wasn't good, and not in the military way, but in the doing something whatever. But then when he came back, he eventually became like an auxiliary to the Hell's Angels out in California. There was the Hell's Henchmen or something like that. They were like a feeder group into there, and his name was Blind Man. For anybody that was around in that era, and so he was fully patched up and everything. It had a Hell's Angels, or it looked just like it. But anyway, he came back one time. I remember to Effingham, and man, did he actually turned out. I have a picture of me sitting on the bike I'm about to describe. It's this chopper, and I mean, it was almost like the Easy Rider chopper. It had like America stuff all over it and everything. And he was like fully tatted up, beard like crazy, hair like crazy, probably earrings. I don't remember. I just remember being like, what in the hell? I mean, the leather and the full patch on the back. I mean, he was 70s biker as you get. And he eventually died of AIDS. But yeah, so
I didn't know that.
yeah, so I never remember anything about I remember lots of being around him and things we did, but I don't remember anything about ever Vietnam, but I remember knowing that he went to Vietnam, and that's odd that of all the time we spent together, which would have been tough guy time because he was a tough guy, but veterans maybe don't, mention it. I know as a veteran, when I'm around other veterans, not like people sit around and talk about what they did, let alone with people that are outside the veteran community. A lot of people just don't want to talk about it at all. That's fine. Probably most. But at any rate, I want to move now after Robin to the fact that now we're not supposed to talk anything. And now it's the 80s. And now we're supposed to always be afraid of the Soviet Union. Our little piece of the Cold War experience. The boomers had the get under the desk thing and all that. Although we did actually do that once when I was a very little kid. They had that whole era. They went into bunkers. We didn't do any of that. Did you do anything like that? Do you remember any kind of Cold War prep that we did around high school days?
I remember at Pioneer School, which would have been 4th grade, we
Mm,
did have all those huge windows, and I believe we had a drill where we had to put the desks on the sideways and get behind them, but I think that might have been for tornadoes in retrospect, not for Cold War stuff, not for nuclear fallout.
But it also might have been at Pioneer that we did this because you and I went there for kindergarten, right?
Went there for kindergarten and for
We came back in
3rd
like third
3rd
grade.
grade.
Third
3rd
grade, because
grade.
then I moved to Chicago right from there. Yeah,
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 that
from
that
there.
Christmas break you moved.
Yeah. But yeah, that must have been where we did the chairs. Maybe I'm confused. Maybe that's what we did. But also since I've seen it so many times, anyway, that era was not us. We didn't have all that going and getting into shelters and things like that.
No, that was probably tornadoes when
Do you remember at all feeling it? Like we're in a Cold War, the Soviets could attack at any time, the world could all end to this Armageddon / it's 1984, everybody's freaking out.
I went to seminars that talked about how bad it could be. One, actually not seminars, one. And then it was mostly through music and movies. Like we had the movie Red Dawn, I think, with Patrick Swayze. That
All-time
was
great
like
movie. Awesome
great
movie.
movie.
Awesome movie.
That really opened my eyes, and I think it might have opened the eyes to the Soviets thinking, wow, the kids are gonna fight us.
Mm-hmm.
And then the other one that was Everybody Wants to Rule the World, the song by Tears for Fears, and there was more music that was more terrifying, like, to me. I didn't wanna hear that.
Right. And for us, and I'm sure for others out there, music in some form played a part in how maybe you, without knowing it, managed that era. I mean, look at it. We have this fear of this thing going on, and you and I, and probably others that are still listening to us because we talk about heavy metal a lot, you and I were like knee deep in metal. It was all power. It wasn't whiny metal. It was power metal as far as not the style of the music, but the voice, the message. It was about we will succeed. Iron Maiden's always winning those things. I mean, they have setbacks, but they're not losers. And Priest and all those bands are Accept. Listen to Accept. They're not whining. No, I'm not trying to say later metal was, but you get my drift. It was still sort of denim and leather into pyramid spikes just before the bleach blonde took over.
It was Tough Guy and
Yeah.
Success.
Right.
And good time. Let's have a good time.
Right.
Right.
Like brotherly, so
Yeah.
and so what that does though is it sort of goes along with this whole, I don't know if you ever heard this thing that Gen X was sort of raised in the same way that you would basically do. The schools were designed basically in the same way you would train a military. And so they had the education component, they had the nutrition component, and they also had the workout component. And the purpose of that was to make sure that every little Gen Xer, when they got old enough, was in good shape in case they needed to join the military. I don't know if that's true, but I've heard that talked about before, and it makes sense if you look at it like that. It would work that way regardless. But let's hop on to the next little part that we have of this first Gen X experience is that, you've heard it talked about. We had to go from, what is it? It would have been, for us, it'd be 8 tracks to cassettes to CDs to better CDs probably, and then to MP3s, and now to subscriptions. So I don't even have, my Neil Young album sitting over there anymore. I have to go to Spotify and make sure that I paid my whatever $12 a month for the family plan to listen to it. What do you think of that? The impact of technology on us as far as how many times Gen X has sort of had to reinvent itself?
That's something weird I never thought about. I still, when CDs were coming out, I laughed that they would skip when you hit a bump. I stayed with cassettes all the way through. I never owned many CDs at all because about that time, for me, I was starting to like fall off the whole music scene because it was just, for me, it was getting ridiculous. And then computers were coming back. They were starting to come out. I was a draftsman where you did the drawing yourself with pens and Mylar and vellum. And these computers started showing up saying, well, if you don't learn this, you're not going to have a job. And we just, ha, ha, ha. Yeah, you'd laugh. You're sitting in a room with 22 draftsmen and your boss is telling you, this is going to replace you. And seeing all of them just start, the people who didn't want to learn it were leaving. I'll find a job somewhere else. Well, I'm trying to accept that technology is taking over maybe your generation if you don't keep up with it. Because I watch guys just, I'm not going to learn that. I'm not going to learn computer. And that's probably the generation before us that absolutely refused to learn all this. So we had to adapt. I did somewhat. I did learn computer drafting, but it was difficult. Like going from CDs. Like I said, I didn't buy many CDs. And now CDs are so obsolete and DVDs are a joke. Going from Okay, learning to adapt. You go from going to a mom and pop video store when videos first came out in the 80s. There was then all of a sudden there's Blockbuster and Family Video, all these conglomerate, huge corporate videos. And then to see all of that poof
It's
gone. You can't find a video store anymore because they don't exist because you got the Netflix came out, well, they'd send you a DVD and you'd watch it, you'd send it back.
forgot
And
about
then
that.
my favorite thing was the red box. You could go to Walgreens, there's a red box. Ours, the last one here in the town where I live just got taken out maybe 2 months ago. But
Wow.
I thought, "Hey, this is brilliant investment. I'm gonna invest in getting a red box," and you might have made a lot of money for 10 years maybe on it, but now it's obsolete. So now we gotta adjust to I don't even know what is next in movies. I watch YouTube.
I don't think it's going to change much for us. The delivery to the screens that it's on now, it's staying there.
Yeah,
And it's just, I mean, they might improve how that's done, but we're not going to be having to buy physical objects.
right.
There's no more CDs. I mean, unless things change. But
Well,
yeah,
and
and
now
go ahead.
well, now I'm hearing with AI coming in, there's another one we're gonna have to adjust to.
Let me say something really fast on that. I had a thought recently about the fact that I asked ChatGTP to write a song in the style of Robert Hunter, who is the lyricist for the Grateful Dead, and then to put it in an arrangement as Jerry Garcia would have played it. And it did it.
Wow.
Boom, it popped this thing out. And I thought and then I was watching, I forget the guy's name. He does guitar player. He's really been he's got tons of followers and all this. Rick Beto, I think is his name. He's
Yeah,
been on a
Greg
rant.
Beato.
Right, him. He's been on a rant lately, which I'm with him on this, about AI's impact. And he like made a song
Yeah,
that got to like #1 on Spotify. And it was fake. And apparently there's a lot on Spotify now that is reaching the top that is simply AI putting this stuff together. So I was
yeah,
thinking, what if I took this thing? What if I took this Jerry Garcia song and told it the same thing, but these lyrics? Is it going to whip out a song? And then
yes,
it hit me. Okay, well that's fancy, but eventually it'd probably have it perfect. I mean, it'd have it so digitized, but then I started thinking, what if I could just say, hey, make me a random Grateful Dead show, spring tour of 1980. I want it to be an outdoor amphitheater, sunny, and like a 5 o'clock show on a Sunday. I want to have that feel, and I want the setting to be Shoreline Amphitheater in Mountain View, California, and
yeah.
boom, there it is. Let the good times roll, or who knows, it starts playing, and that's coming. That is coming.
Yeah, I've heard that you can like, it's even gonna affect movies to where you can make the movie that you want to see.
Exactly. Just describe it.
Right, describe what you wanna I wanna see The Wizard of Oz with Godzilla and Taylor Swift in it, and boom, there you go.
Okay, now that's gonna be. Can you imagine the sea of weird shorts we're gonna see out of that stuff?
Oh, I
But
wanna
what would?
see it. I wanna
But
see Taylor Swift fighting Godzilla. If you guys can put up with that, I wanna see it.
you know what I would like to do if I could do that? I would take from Michael Moorcock, who played in Hawkwind back in the '60s, Indegato-Davida. Michael Moorcock was also might even still be alive. Anyway, is an author perhaps, and he wrote the Elric of Melniboné stories, which we've talked about already because of
Yeah.
previous mentions of that. But there's no movie for it, and there's been a couple times they went to try to make it, and it would be Witcher-esque almost. And perhaps that guy might. Well, he's too big. Elric, the main character, is a skinny albino with white hair that has a fancy sword named Stormbringer that he has to suck the souls off of people to stay healthy, to get his strength. But he's not an evil person. It's a great series of like 6 books. I used to read it all the time. I loved it, loved it, loved it. To be able to put that, all 6 novels, into an AI and say, make this into a movie.
You'll
And
be
then
able to do it.
I know, and it'll be fast. I mean, I'm not talking tomorrow. When it first comes out, it's going to suck, yeah. But just if it comes out tomorrow, wait till 15 years from now in the way that we're going through change. Look at us, Gen X. Look what we just talked about. We went from learning typewriters that weren't electric to electric ones to computers, and certainly other generations did that too. But
I learned how to type on a typewriter
yeah,
in
typing
college.
class.
In
Typing
college.
class. Oh, I had to take. I remember it was an elective that you had to take. It was
Yeah.
like that or something crazy in high school. So
Yeah.
I took it so I could type. Thank God I did.
Yeah. I don't know how anybody could do without it now.
Exactly. I mean, that was a very good skill to be taught in high school. These days, they don't need to. Kids come out, I think they're born now able to type, the newest generation.
So,
Yeah, exactly. They already
I
have their
can't
Facebook page.
my youngest son's 20, and I don't remember him not knowing how to type. I don't. He's been
Mm,
with me since he was 8. I think he knew how to type when he was 4. Like you were saying, I think they are born
right,
knowing how to do it.
right. My youngest son did. In fact, the first time he touched a keyboard, sitting on my lap in front of a big monitor playing World of Warcraft back in, he probably would have been 4, so like 2011, 2012. And he wanted to make his own character because he used to watch me. And so he did. And he made his little rogue, human rogue for any World of Warcraft people out there. And so Chocolate K was the name of this tune, as they say, character. And so he sat there and I would move for him. He'd say where to go at first, but literally like the end of the first day, he was already pushing some of the buttons. And within a couple of days, he was pushing all the buttons just because he simply knew where they had to go. But in the process, also would have to type words sometimes. And so that, I think that might be how he learned to type, play World of Warcraft, getting at least the seeds of it that early. So yeah,
Probably so, yeah.
right. But I didn't touch a typewriter until I had to in high school.
I think
So,
I was even in college.
and then we have the other one.